And welcome back to Survivor 42 and 42, the official halfway point of this journey. To commemorate, I shaved, and we are on the first step of the Dark Ages, season 21, Nicaragua, and it wasn't fun. I did spend my entire day watching it. I didn't do anything else, and it was a struggle. I was at least hoping that the pre-merge would be fun, and it's not. The merge, there's one really good episode of the merge, and that is the Brenda boot episode. Like everything in that episode I really enjoyed. I actually sat up in my bed because it was so good. But right after that, it's the double quit, and it just kind of drags from there. So we are once again being joined by Gherman, who last we saw was talking about Gabon, and Travis, who we just talked to 2 days ago for Samoa. We're going to go with Gherman first because we just did Gabon, and I feel like Gabon and Nicaragua are the ones that are usually compared because of the weak winners and the cast and all that. Between the two of them, which one do you feel like inherently is the better season? And is that also the better season to watch? So it's two questions, but I feel like it's the same answer for both.
Yeah, so if you're looking for the perfect combo of like trashy TV and Survivor, that's Gabon. Gabon is more fun to watch. Gabon has more entertaining characters. These two are comparable just based on the amount of recruits and the amount of bad gameplay. But other than that, Gabon is consistently fun. There's not a bad episode in Gabon. There are several episodes that are total snooze fests in Nicaragua. Now, I personally like this season still. It's just not near the top of any list for me, but I certainly don't think like Dalton Ross, it's the worst season the show has ever produced. I think that is bullshit. I think that it has some fun moments, some fun characters like Marty, Brenda, Jane, Fabio, Jimmy T in the pre-merge is a fucking mess, but this is way worse than Gabon.
Travis?
No, this is my comfort season. Like I don't times I've seen this season, and I agree with everything you said still. Like, it's not the best season. I find comfort in it because Fabio is a one-of-a-kind winner. I genuinely like him as a winner, and I like the game that he played because I do think that there was a lot of merit to being left out of damn near everything, having to struggle to even know what's going on and still coming out on top. Like, I don't think that really ever happens in this type of game. So, like, him being able to do that, like, really, really is something special to see. And he's a character. Like, I can say that Gabon has a lot more characters and a lot more fun characters. But Fabio himself, like, that's a top-tier A1 character. Right?
And I will say that the Fabio Bob thing, Fabio almost is a more enjoyable of his arc, and like you want to see it happen for the people he's sitting next to. Well, Bob, it's kind of like you stumbled here a bit, and like, okay, I guess you're the best of what's here. But Fabio, it's like, yes, he won another one. Yes, he won another one. Yes, he won another one. And it's like, absolutely.
And so I want to get back to that, but I want to point out something that Travis said, where it's like we don't get a winner where they are left out of everything. They have to like play their way to the end and all that. I compare that to Michelle's losing game and Winners at War, where, she's very much on the bottom for a lot of it. She's left out of a lot of stuff, and she wins when she needs to, and she also makes it to the end. And I feel like
she was robbed.
Obviously, Tony was going to win, but I do feel like there was merit to Michelle. I don't believe that her being shut out was any type of knock on her game at all, because I do think that Michelle did what she had to do in that situation. And it's the same thing with Fabio. Yes, I'm sure that he wanted to strategize with people, and there are times this season where like Fabio was in conversations about what to happen, and then the game, something gets flipped at the last second, and they don't tell him, and he just, he's just caught with his pants down. But at least for what we see, he doesn't go off on people. The only time that he really gets pissed that we see is when Chase doesn't take him on the family visit. And even then, he has a confession where he's like, you can't hold grudges in these games or people are not going to want to keep you around. So he's very self-aware, and he keeps saying that throughout the game. I understand what the perception is of me, and I'm going to lean into it. I'm fairly certain he says that at the reunion as well, and also Final Tribal. It's like, I understand that y'all look at me as like this doofus, and I'm not going to do anything to change that. But also, when I sit here and tell you, I knew not everything, but I knew how I was being perceived, and I knew what was going on a lot of the time. I feel like there is merit to that. I do think he's better than Bob. We'll go with that. I think he's better than Bob. I think he's a better character than Bob. I think that he beat a better Final 3 than Bob. And I just enjoyed his story arc when we finally got his story arc, maybe like halfway through the merge.
Gave better answers than Bob.
He gave better answers than Bob. Just an all-around better winner than Bob. But the rest of the cast. I know you mentioned the characters. For me, the season is just so dragged down by the Nyanka of it all. And I understand that she's now a meme that everyone's supposed to like her now because you just don't get Nyanka. And it's like, well, no, you just don't get Abby Maria, like, until you get Abby Maria. Nyanka is not Abby Maria. Nyanka, like, she was just the worst. And I was trying to, like, see moments where, Chase Rice is singing at the reunion. I was trying to find moments where it's like, okay, you know what? I get it. And she talks about her divorce and all that, but then it's immediately her harassing Kelly. It's her harassing Fabio for some reason, her throwing Alina under the bus. Like, there's just a whole bunch of, and like I mentioned yesterday, and I'm pretty sure the day before, Nyanka quits at 9 and has the most confessionals on the season, and it's not even close. So, Travis, we'll start with you. Nyanka fan, do you get it? Do you get her?
I love Nyanka. I won't lie. I would love to have her come back. Like, I know she would never get another invite. I get it. Like, she won't. But I do like her. I think she's so funny. And, like, she voted for Fabio at the end of the day, and I care about that, too. I don't know why. I have no clue why she did. But she did. So, like, I can't get mad about it at the end of the day.
Gherman?
I think she's very funny and very mean, and a lot of it is mean-spirited, but I don't think it's aggressively mean like other people have been on the show.
I don't know just even the things that she was just saying about Kelly, just on her own with that, it's just like, why are you saying this? Like, what makes you? I understand that you're trying to do it for the camera or whatever. I think what really finally just made me done with her was when the episode where they quit and they win the reward challenge and she doesn't get her spot because I won it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. It's like, all right, that's a little fucky. But Gherman, Nyanka thoughts. Are you also, I guess, a horrible person like Travis, or do you like actually is there merit to what Travis is saying, or
I would say that I'm in the middle of your 2 points, where I enjoy Nyanka as a TV character. She was a recruit, and they found her like while she was talking to somebody washing a car, apparently. And you can see in like 10 seconds why a recruiter was like, "Yep, I can see it." And she gives good confessionals. Did she do the right things as a person here? No. But did she bring me entertainment to my television screen? Yeah. Was the quitting unfortunate and kind of like sours it a bit? Yeah. But as far as just a good confessional giver, yes, I'll give it to her. Let's talk about Kelly B for a moment, though, now that we brought up that dynamic and why I feel like maybe. So, second episode, we see Shannon, right? His problematic comments. And we know into the future, Shannon is a problematic person, right? What was the 6 people that Shannon tried to make an alliance out of? Who was outside of that alliance? Let's read into that a little bit. Why did Sash, Nyanka, and Brenda have to form? And who was Shannon saying that he trusted? And then at Tribal, as Shannon is going off, making all these horrible comments, the one person that comes to Shannon's defense is Kelly Bruno. Yes, I think that when somebody is completely problematic out there, and then you're the one person to defend that person, I think I see some reason for Nyanka to go after her.
I can't argue that. Kelly is homophobic confirmed. You heard it here from some. No, that checks out, and I feel like if that season were to happen now, people would have immediately latched on to the fact that her and Alina were the only ones that voted with Shannon in that episode. You know what? I'll give you that. One other thing that pissed me off about Nyanka was when she was quitting, she dropped the race card in there in a moment where it's like, one, it was false because Sasha's half black, but two, when she's like, "Oh, I'm the last black person standing," so like I feel good being able to leave. It's like, well, why? I feel like that's almost a smack in the face of Tyrone. His name was Tyrone.
Yeah, there's Tyrone in the pre-merge.
That's not a slap in the face of him, who was actually out there trying to play and probably wouldn't have quit. Right. So I felt dirty when she was like, "Oh yes," she brought the race thing in a situation where like, nope, that doesn't matter. It's almost like Missy and Island of the Idols, right after the Kelly episode where Missy's sitting there saying, "Oh yes, a black woman won immunity." It's like, but also you did a horrible thing last episode, but whatever. Purple Kelly, and we're gonna go Purple Kelly Nyanka for a second, because in my opinion, what I think happened is they needed a villain for the season. Hence why, even though they know Nyanka quits, they're going to give her all the screen time. Meanwhile, they can't punish her. They can give her a lot of negative content, but also feel like she was being negative, so they can do that. With Kelly, their punishment is obviously the now named Purple Edit, to the point where you forget that she is there most of the time. But fun fact, I didn't realize this, but Benry is also very much invisible until
that's true.
Basically, right after the episode of the Quits is where Benry becomes a character.
He also has a one episode like spike in confessionals during the Tyrone boot, if you notice, where suddenly like during Tyrone's exit, he's like, "I'm the king of Nicaragua now."
Benry's here, baby. It's like, all right, fam.
And then he disappears again. It's just like, what?
But what did y'all think? And both of y'all can answer the question. What do y'all think of the difference in how these two people that quit were edited? And do you think they did it right based off of what they knew was going to happen?
So I will say that I think this is a lot on production at the end of the day, to cast an entire season full of recruits that have not watched any Survivor. And then you take somebody like Purple Kelly, who is out there in her bathing suit, has to steal Fabio's jacket, if you notice, for the majority of the time, is out there, no ambition, no plans of like, how do I win this game, or strategic background. And then it's like, hey, you probably have no chance to win. Are you going to stay? And it's like, yeah, I don't blame her. I blame production for casting her. I don't see what they saw. I don't see how she was out there. Does this random girl, want to stay out there for 11 more days that she probably won't win? Yeah, probably not. Why was she here then?
You don't talk much, do you? No, it's funny, isn't it?
No, I agree too. Like this season is really, really hindered badly by casting. And like, I have no idea why Purple Kelly was cast, because when she gives confessionals, it's like, why are you here? Right. Like, it's just not, it's like not there. Like, it just doesn't hit. And I don't know, I feel like that she could have had a little bit more. Like, I don't know. I'm just always like, if somebody, like, I don't remember how many confessionals Nyanka has compared to.
Oh, she has 50.
5 times.
Is it like 54?
Yeah, something like that compared to Kelly's 4 or 5.
Yeah, see, like, you could, like, I don't know, I just like a little bit more of an even distribution, especially since, like, they were gone in the same episode.
One good thing about even distribution, though, is while I think a lot of the cast up until this point are pretty badly balanced, the final 4 actually all have a relatively similar number of confessionals. They're only about 6 apart from each other in Holly, Fabio, Chase, and Sash. And I hope we can discuss Holly a bit, because
I do want to touch on Holly and Jane.
She's wild. Like, that's a girl.
I want to touch on Holly and Jane in a bit. One thing, and I mentioned, I don't know what episode I mentioned this with, this thing in the teens and now early 20s, where, and maybe I just block it out of my head whenever I've watched these seasons in the past, there are a lot of people, especially this season, that talk about quitting. I think we had 4 this season, and 2 of them eventually do the second time they think about quitting. But you start the season with Holly, and then you get Dan. There's an episode where Dan, his name is Dan. Wants to quit. Purple Kelly at some point pre-merge wants to quit. Nyanka has her own story arc from the pre-merge where she wants to quit. I don't remember it being this bad, with all of these seasons where there are so many people that talk about quitting. Now, I'm glad that Holly didn't, because Holly, I feel like, was one of the better characters on the season. I didn't even care that she buried Dan's shoes because I didn't like Dan. But on the other end of that, we get Jane. And Travis texted me earlier, and I agree with him. One of the most unlikable America's favorites ever. And I would say that I agree, because she has her little thing against Marty, which, watching it this time, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And at least according to the edit, Marty never really did anything to Jane to warrant her, like, outrageous distaste of him as a person. And she keeps saying that he shits on her at tribal council, and it's like, no, he's saying Jane's going to win the game if she gets to the end. Like, I don't feel like that's, he's shitting on your game as far as he's trying to make sure you leave, but he's not really doing he's not slandering you in that situation. Gherman.
I would actually call them both unreasonable people when it comes to each other.
We'll get to Marty. Just focus on the Jane part right now, but we'll get to Marty.
But yes, Jane starts saying that she wouldn't let her kids hang out with Marty's kids. And it's like, well, what do his kids have to do with it? You know what I mean? And Jane just goes from 1 to 100. It's like the second, like, they didn't even tell her completely, you're going to be voted off. And then she pours the water on the fire. She has a one-track mind, votes for Marty in 4 tribal councils in a row, even when he's not going to go. She just has this vendetta, can't let it go. Anything that's against her is a personal thing. She doesn't care about game whatsoever. I will say, I did enjoy her to an extent of she catches the fish. She goes out there. She had the right idea when she came to the young tribe, where she actually was trying to interact with the young kids, where Marty and Tyrone and people were like, this is how we do strategy over here, and you need to obey our rules. And Jane's like, I'm going to be fun, and I'm going to do this and that. She had good ideas. She's just out there kooky and
won a few challenges. And that's all credit to her. Travis, why
physical
is she
ones, beating Chase, beating Bennery,
Travis, why is she, for your money, one of the worst America's favorite
joke?
I just get confused how she won. Like, I guess other than Fabio, she is like the biggest character. Like, so they're not going to vote for Nyanka, but like she did have a huge like character moments in it that were just kind of like, memorable, I guess. I don't.
Not Holly. Like, I probably would have voted for Holly.
I think it was the story of Jane's husband slash the demographics of who watched Survivor, where Jane is kind of that most like Southern, person who has a sob story on the show.
I was gonna say she did talk like to get emotions going. Like with story. So I guess I get that.
People love providers,
Rupert.
Can you not win like fan favorite if you win the season? No, right? Or yes?
Bob won and JT won.
Okay, see, I don't understand why Fabio didn't win then.
I feel like people think, and we're gonna get to, when we get to Fabio, I do want to talk about this perception of Fabio. Before we get there are 2 more characters that I really want to touch on. One being Brenda, and the other being Marty, because if you watch Nicaragua once and you get on the internets and you see people talk about it, it's always Marty and Brenda were the most strategic people on the season, and they were, horribly robbed because they were playing against a bunch of jamokes. And then you rewatch it, and it's like, well, first of all, Marty tells his entire tribe twice, including his swap tribe, that he has the idol as some type of grand gesture, and he says he hung it out. He hung it outside of their camp, and I don't blame Sash for trying to take advantage of that situation because you told everyone. Marty also tries to in the moment, where him and Sash make that deal and he doesn't play the idol, Marty, on the tie vote, Kelly could have stayed. Marty would have went home and he would have looked like a dunce. There was, and I wish I had written it down. There was one other moment where it's just like, what is this dude doing? On the other hand, we have Brenda.
The test master thing, was that it?
Well, no, because I feel like in that situation, he was trying to manipulate Fabio, and Fabio did buy into it. So
here's my thing with Marty that just annoys the core out of me, which is anytime somebody says, none of these people are playing, how dare they? They should be playing. And he keeps giving confessionals like that. Dude, you're being played. And next, if everyone else wasn't playing, thank God. You know what I mean? You should be thankful if other people are not even playing whatsoever. And he takes it like an insult because nobody wants to do his exact strategy. When people were fighting back against Jimmy Johnson spooked because Marty gave like 50 confessionals like, ugh, why is a celebrity here? You should want a celebrity here because they're a bigger target than you. But you do everything you possibly can, from showing off your immunity idol, like, look at me, I'm a hero, and I'm the most honest person here. You're a dunce. You are. You need people like Jimmy Johnson ahead of you, man.
Travis?
I mean, he's fine. Like he's fine. He's there. He exists. I
remember the other
funny, but I don't
thing
think
that he did.
He's a strategist.
And his hair, it just gets crazier and crazier on this season.
The other thing that he messed up on, in my opinion, is the fact that it's the heroes versus villains heroes tribe all over again, where James is fucked up and they decide, hey, we want to keep the tribe strong, and they still keep James over Tom. And this season, he wants to keep Dan. He wants to keep Dan over Jimmy Johnson, and because him and Jimmy T's egos just can't take the fact that Jimmy Johnson has a modicum of leadership on the tribe. Jimmy Johnson's not going to win the game. Jimmy Johnson's probably still not making the merge, but these two are so gung-ho and adamant that we have to get rid of Jimmy Johnson, but still sit there and say, we got to keep the tribe strong. And then the very next episode's the one where they have to do the water soccer thing where Dan can't even jump to throw the ball in. And it's like, this is it's embarrassing.
And the other thing is, when Marty votes off Jimmy T, and Jimmy T's delusional, we can say that for a moment, where he's also jealous of Jimmy Johnson. But when Marty votes off Jimmy T, he doesn't include Holly, and he doesn't include Jane, which immediately sets him up for a failure at a swap that he just blindsided two people for no reason, when he could have just got Dan out that nobody wanted there and sucked at challenges. Marty sucks.
And then Brenda. Travis, thoughts on Brenda?
I really like Brenda. I do. I want to see Brenda back a third time. I think she is a good player. I just don't think she's the player, as good of a player as people will inflate her to be. But I think she got chops for it. Like, I do.
I think where I got turned off from her this season is her boot episode, where the entire plot is everyone continuing. Chase runs to tell her, Sash runs to tell her. Everyone's like, hey, it looks like they might be trying to flip this vote on you. And she just says, I'm going to play it cool. I don't want to come off as crazy or whatever. I'm not going to scramble. And it's like, I get that you don't want to come off as abrasive or like trying to force things, but also the name of the game is scrambling, especially when your name is on the line. And she doesn't, and she's so shocked when she's the one that gets, that was the most clear non-blindside that turned into a blindside because she was still surprised that it happened. It's like, well, based off of what we're seeing, everyone is telling you that this is what's going to happen. So that just it didn't rub me the wrong way or anything, but it's just like, all right, this is everyone's, robbed goddess of the season. This person that finished in 10th because she refused to scramble. Gherman?
I think it's worth noting the amount of times Brenda says something like, I don't even need to do anything in her confessional. And that's very interesting because at the beginning of the season, she's like, oh, Sash formed the alliance. I didn't even have to do anything. Then at the swap, oh, Sash got Marty's idol. I didn't even have to do anything. Her boot episode, I'm not doing anything. Do something.
Yeah. And
maybe it would help.
Edit a few seasons later, so.
Yeah, and then also getting rid of Marty for Brenda when they had two alliances on a platter. She betrays one and immediately gets turned on right afterwards. Where having a guy like Marty in front of you who is a huge meat shield, who's just going to talk everyone's ear to death. I think that was the wrong call to boot Marty the episode prior. I really do.
And what was everyone's issues with Alina? I don't think that we ever actually. I don't think it was ever brought up because everyone just hated this woman for some reason.
The dirt squirrel comment,
like dirt squirrel, yeah, that was weird, Benry. Also, that name sucks.
It's not
no
a good name.
Benrys. No offense, any Benrys. Our final four, because I do think both of y'all have mentioned our final four is actually very appealing. You know, all four of them could make a case. I feel like for me, I was rooting for Holly in the final four. But I'm also hoping that somehow Fabio might pull out, at least making it to the end, like blow up this dominating alliance. What happened instead is Fabio goes on this win streak. Everyone goes, and they go to the final tribal. Now I feel like if Holly's there next to anyone, I don't think she sweeps, but I think it's a lot farther apart than 5-4-0. I do feel like Holly had the respect of a lot of people. She probably doesn't get Dan's vote, but like, fuck Dan. But I feel like she gets a lot of other folks' votes. With this final three, I don't know. I felt like it was a 3-horse race, but you've learned very early on that Sash is not anyone's cup of tea in this situation. So Travis, we'll start with you. With this final three that we have, your initial thoughts on them, like when you first watched, has it changed throughout the year? And who did you think was actually going to win the first time you watched it? Of those final three.
I do remember watching this, and I remember hoping for Fabio to win just because I liked his arc. But I thought that Sash was going to win. Just because I felt like Sash did like a lot more of the strategy compared to the other two. But I love Fabio's arc now. Like looking back on it, Fabio has aged like wine to me, like fine wine to me, like just in terms of like uniqueness, and with him almost like he became a caricature of himself. And he says it a few times, like where it's like, I'm not really this dumb, but if these people think I'm dumb, I'm going to play into it. Because there's a moment when they do, it's the episode where the two quit. Like, you see Fabio be completely different. It's like he's in the zone. It's like, okay, that's who I think Fabio really is that type of person where he's like, yes, like I'm going to do what I have to do to win. And if these people aren't going to give me information and they think I'm dumb, okay, if I don't have to have information to keep going, but these people still like me, why would I not
something right? Yeah. It's the
like,
ultimate social game.
Why would I not do that? Like, I think Fabio is way smarter than people will give him credit for. And like he had no control. Like he hardly had control of his own fate. Like,
yeah.
But, you know, I think one of the smartest things that Fabio did, in my personal opinion, was how he handled the Final Four Tribal Council. So at the Final Four, he basically shows Sash's ass to the entire jury that, like, hey, this is what he said to me, and this is what Chase said to me, and this is what Holly said to me, and basically compares the notes and lets Sash look like he's been a lying, cheesy, you know, scumbag. Mm-hmm. Lets Chase look like, okay, Chase told me the truth. And then one of the Fabio's quotes was like, yeah, but you did it the last minute. It was only the last minute that you decided to tell me the truth. Holly's the only one that's been telling me the truth, guys. And then gets rid of Holly and lets the two scumbags sit next to him at the end, setting himself up as that underdog character and making them both look like assholes at that Final Four Tribal Council right in front of the jury. I thought that was a brilliant tribal performance there.
And to his credit, they tear into Chase and Sash, and I think Fabio may have only gotten one real negative juror, and that was Alina. And she's like, I'm not giving my money to a kid. It's like, all right. Whatever.
And nobody even liked her anyway on the jury.
Yeah, so nobody liked her anyway. But, you know, I feel like when you look at the jury, and we're going to talk about, you know, the controversies surrounding the jury and all that. When you look at the jury, you know that he's probably going to get Marty's vote because every time Marty walks into tribal council while Fabio's winning, he like motions to Fabio like, way to go. So you know he's getting Marty's vote. You know that he's probably getting Benry's vote because they were working together until Benry got voted out. From there, you don't really see. Oh no, he's going to get Dan's vote because Dan and him were really close. So that's 3. From there, you, at least from where I was sitting, it was like, all right, so the rest of them will probably vote Chase because Nyanka doesn't like the guy. Brenda, I feel, will probably try to vote for the person she felt was most strategic and social. Jane and Holly are not voting for Sash. So I thought, even now, I was like, I'm very surprised that it was that close. Not to say that Fabio shouldn't have won, because I think that if you win, you win. I think that Fabio should have won this season, period. But just the optics, it made it like it. There was no way that you could sit there and say, oh, yeah, he's got these people wrapped up besides those 3. I don't think there's anybody else, in my opinion, that we figured was a definite vote for Fabio. Can either one of y'all say?
No, yeah, definitely not.
I think that's what makes it fun too, though, is like you do kind of go into this final tribal not really knowing. It's like you hope certain things will happen, but then it's like you still don't fully know, because it's like, why you have no inkling as to why Nyanka would ever vote for Fabio. Like, it's just, that's one thing that it's like, if somebody ever meets her, I hope they ask for that, because I want to know too.
But Purple Kelly, again, I mentioned it earlier. Whose jacket is she wearing during a lot of the season on every rainy day? Fabio offered his clothes to Purple Kelly. And that's something that Purple Kelly mentioned in her questionnaire that Dalton Ross sent to everybody. That one of her proudest moments was voting for Fabio because he was the one that comforted her through those days. That strategy. And that's why when people complain, oh, Chase should have won because 2 of the jurors that voted for Fabio were quitters. But everybody knew that at that point in the time, the rules were if you quit, you're still on the jury because of Janu. So of course you appeal to the 2 people, even if they're going to quit. Of course you appeal to people that are going to be jurors. Yes, they changed the rule, and I'm glad they did change the rule, but changing the rule mid-season would have been collectively stupid. You know what I mean? When people are playing for that rule.
It's a game mechanic, which is why I'll never bitch about Chris Underwood winning Edge of Extinction, because it's a game mechanic that people will either utilize to their benefit or they won't utilize to their benefit. And in that situation, playing 2 days or however long he played in the game, he did what he had to do to win ultimately at the end based off the game mechanic. And in this season, it's the same thing where, like you said, he knew that there were two quitters sitting there, but he knows that I took care of Purple Kelly while she was here. I know that Nyanka hates me, but his answer to her question and watching her tear up while he's tearing up, before we went live, I said that's where he wins right there. To both of y'all, I said that's where he wins right there, because he was able to appeal to someone who hated his guts for the majority of the game, will I ever sit here and say that Fabio is one of the greatest winners ever? No, obviously. But I do feel like, once again, his win has just as much merit as a lot of other winners. Sorry he wasn't like some strategic mastermind. Sorry he didn't, orchestrate all these big blind sides, make all these big moves. But once again, the most underrated portion of the game, and also the most important portion of the game, is the social game. And he was more appealing to more people at the right time. I do feel like if the jury is like Chase, Sash, and I don't know, Dan, Chase probably sweeps. Like it's not even close, because he's the most likable of the 3. And I want to say one more thing to Fabio's thing. As the game is starting to, like, right after the double quit, Fabio has a lot of moments where he's saying, this person is a threat at the end. I don't know why these people are saying that these people are threats at the end, because they're not. When they were trying to get rid of Dan, and Fabio's like, why are you trying to get rid of Dan? Dan's not a threat. They're like, everyone on the jury likes him. It's like, I don't think everyone on the jury likes Dan. And just watching it, it doesn't feel like everyone on the jury likes Dan. I feel like most people don't like Dan. So once again, it's just a testament to what all 3 of us have been saying throughout this is he's way more aware than he's given credit for. He's way more aware than the players playing with him. And he's more aware than what the edit is trying to show us. Like, all of those things did happen where he was saying this on screen, but I feel like that gets buried beneath him being a goof. And you have to watch it more than once to realize, no, this, he's telling the truth. He is more aware.
So this rewatch, there was actually one episode that I was particularly interested in, which was the final 7 episode. Wasn't a great episode, not really. However, I was interested because at that tribal council, the main alliance has the decision to vote for Benry or vote for Fabio. And knowing that Fabio wins the next 3, it's a bad call. But I was really interested, what, if anything, made them boot Benry over Fabio, right? And I noticed that Holly is the one in the group that says, actually, I think that we should vote for Fabio. Holly was the one that actually knew what to do, while Chase is like, no, Benry keeps trying to talk to me. Benry's the bigger threat. And Fabio proved that he came in second in that immunity at the puzzle portion, where Benry couldn't even do anything on the puzzle.
Benry couldn't do
Fabio
the puzzle.
had won an endurance immunity at the start of the merge. The fact that those guys went for Benry over Fabio in that spot is a big reason why they deserve to lose.
For Purple Benry, who actually ended up with 20 confessionals, which I was amazed by.
Well, I think that is almost a testament to Fabio's social game and his threat management. Which again, like, I'm a hype Fabio up all day long. Like that's my boy.
Exactly.
I would have loved to see him on Winners at War. Honestly, like I think that would think of how much fun that would have been. Like,
well, it would have been what 10 years later, and I feel like he wouldn't have like people will have seen the season, and I feel like he would have played more like actual. I feel like he would have been Judd. I don't even feel like he would have been Fabio on the season. I feel like he would have gone in as Judd.
And I think so. I think Fabio has such a bad reputation as like a male winner because he almost won the way a lot of women will win the game by having such a strong predominant social game. And I think that is another reason why people always will view him much lower than he needs to be. Because a lot of men do win by being very strategic and having like a little bit less of a social game or being a lot more in control. Whereas like there aren't many men minus Bob and I guess Chris Underwood that won a game without as much control as a lot of other people will.
And you could ask, what's the major differences between Jenna Maraska, Danny Boatwright, and Fabio? But the other two will be put on like high on underrated winner lists, while Fabio will always be at the bottom.
And it's so weird to me. But having
what you said was perfect. Yeah.
All of that, despite the fact that we all agree that Fabio is an underrated winner and deserves more respect, the fact that we do kind of all agree that, you know, Chase and Sash kind of shit the bed towards the end. Despite all of that, I know that both of y'all don't hate this season. I hated this. I hated this so much. It's not the bottom of the barrel for me. I will never rank it last because Thailand exists. That's my Thailand reference for the episode. Because Thailand exists.
Redemption Island exists too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and I'm ready to start that. And I feel like what the problem that is about to happen for me is, at least with Redemption Island, I haven't watched it in about a year. I can name you moments that are like, oh, that's fine, I remember. But also, there is a storyline in this season. It is Boston Rob and his minions versus cannon fodder. It's basically one world with a male winner. And I feel like because those two storylines are more appealing than whatever we got in Nicaragua, I'm probably going to like those two more than this one because, yeah, Fabio wins and I'm happy about it and all that. But, like, what is the plot of season 21?
And that's where I'm different, I'd say, right, is that I want a season that has unexpected routes and side quests and where are we going here? Where Redemption Island One World to me is just like, okay, you know, I figured out the story in the first couple episodes, and now we're just walking our way slowly to the finish line. And I want to see, like, Brenda's at the top of the food chain, now she's at the bottom. Marty's at the top of the food chain, now he's at the bottom. You know, these rise and falls and an underdog winning at the end of the day. That's what I like to see personally.
You can tell me, too, that, like people can say this is their least favorite season. I'm going to be like, yeah, I see it. It's not mine.
I get it.
Not my least favorite season.
This season is just so much fun. Like, it's wild. Like, it's so wild, this whole thing.
And I ragged on Marty and Brenda's strategy and Jimmy T, but I still find them really entertaining to watch in their downfalls. Like, Brenda is really, you know, funny and, like, cool, and Marty is a goofball. But so I like watching them, but I also like watching them fall when they get arrogant.
Well, we're gonna leave it there. My rating for Survivor 21 Nicaragua. I am gonna rate it higher than Thailand. Obviously, I'm not a fool. I am gonna rank it lower than All Stars though. Let's see, where's my list? So I gave Thailand a 1.5 out of 5. I gave All Stars a 3 out of 5. 2.25, 2.5. We'll go with 2.5 because you guys enjoyed it. I'll give Survivor Nicaragua a 2.5 out of 5, and that's just because both my co-hosts this episode enjoyed it, and because I like Fabio, and because I like the final 10 episode. And that's it. So up next, we have Redemption Island. As my journey through the Dark Ages continues, I'm very much not looking forward to this one, so I probably will try to knock out as much as I can tonight, so I don't have to spend all day tomorrow watching it. Thank you all again for continuing to tune in. Last night's episode already has more views than every other episode from 42 and 42.
And this one's going to be a lower one, too. I know.
Yeah, I don't sell yourself so short. So thank you all again. Gherman, Travis, thank you guys so much. I'm fairly certain each of you have one more left. Or zero? One or zero? I don't know.
At the moment, we'll figure it out.
I have Island of the Idols. Where
yes, you do.
Plot twist.
And we will
winner for me.
We will see y'all after season 22. Redemption Island.